So we'll share some of the realizations. And the most important ones also are revolving around the mind. Mind is always the central feature of everyone's existence, because everything we perceive, practically we perceive through the mind. That's why we have to be well conversant with it. And it's going to play, and it does play, always a major role in our spiritual progress. Om Jnana Timiram Dasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshta Bhattale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachana Devi Shesha Srimati Bhakti Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. What? They didn't so far. No, better they listen and sit down. They can do it without preparation. Everything is possible when you exclude the mind. Okay, so let's focus a little bit. Today's subject matter has been inspired by some experiences that we had now just last 1 month. We've been visiting different schools and we're trying to present Bhagavad Gita to the students. And most of the questions, when there is a chance that they ask a question, it just always comes to the point, how to control the mind. Just what to do with the mind. Some or other people have some sense, have some understanding that pretty much most of the trouble evolves, and it's caused by the mind, evolves from and it's caused by the mind. So that's very interesting, that's very good. At least that much acknowledgement and that much understanding that it is there. But still, what everyone is enormously lacking is to understand deeper nature of the mind and what to do with it. That's something that it's extremely lacking. So that's why that question is very essential. What to do with the mind? We are under so much pressure, we are under so much expectation, and we are supposed to, cram so much information so that we can pass our exams and achieve this and achieve that. So that's enormous difficulty how to cope with it. And that's why all these students are in such pitiful condition. That we as a Vaishnavas, we have to show some compassion. We have to try to elevate and alleviate them as much as possible. That's what our duty is. Because hopefully we should have been also benefited by spiritual practice. To some extent at least, some of you know. So that's why seeing that condition, then we were contemplating a little bit, what do we present, what do we teach them, what do we give them so that they become inspired to take Bhagavad Gita. Because in Bhagavad Gita, there is so much information about the subtle body also, about the mind, like the whole chapter of Dhyana Yoga. It's one thing, and then of course the other different side effects that mind manifests because it's influenced by different anarthas. That is throughout Bhagavad Gita. So if we know Bhagavad Gita, just Bhagavad Gita itself, of course, if one would know Srimad Bhagavatam, there's so much psychology. It's incredible how much psychology is there. So just by that psychology, understanding the mind, how one can be immensely benefited. Because we are not just these gross bodies. That's what we forget. Every time we forget that we are also mind, intelligence, a false ego. We're not conscious of that, and that's why we are feeling so much trouble and difficulties because of that ignorance. It's just like, okay, I want to marry a nice girl, or a nice girl wants to marry a nice boy. And that's it. It's just about superficial niceness. Is that it's enough? Yes or no? Is that all that it's sufficient, to make everything functional and perfect and satisfying? Is that all? Is that all? Are we just marrying a body? Huh? Yes or no? No, we're not just marrying the body, we're marrying the subtle body also. What do we know about the subtle body? All those craziness and all those madnesses and all different kinds of things. Do we know anything about that? Can we perceive that? Can we see that? Huh? Yes or no? Yes or no? In essence, no. Especially when one is lusty, can't see anything beyond the, beyond his nose, so to say. Such an illusion. Yeah. One can't perceive anything gross, what to speak of anything subtle. So that is all the position of the mind, the function of the mind, that it also influencing the false ego, it keeps us illusioned about what we are dealing with. Yeah. So we just think that we are dealing on everything, with everything on the gross level. And that's our only perception. Just so much grossness. Indriyani paranya hurindriya vyapana manasas manasas para buddhaya buddha paratastu saha. All we see is just the gross senses. That's it. Just what do I taste? What do I feel? What do I hear? What do I see? The door. What do I smell? Taste, whatever, all the senses. That's all. It's just so gross. Everything is so gross. But we don't understand behind and beyond that, there's emotional level. There's emotional level. Beyond the emotional level, there's also intellectual. What to speak of the highest level, which is spiritual. But we've been so engrossed and becoming so gross that we don't understand that we will have to deal, when we deal with someone, we'll have to deal with their mind. What is the condition of their mind? That one finds out much later. Much later on, when one spends some time with someone. And then it might be pretty late, because one may become entangled and involved in so many ways. So that's why mind's feature and mind's qualities are the central features and qualities of one's existence. If one's mind is peaceful and regulated and purified, that is a very wonderful position. Because if it's not, then we're going to be experiencing a lot of trouble. Okay, anybody here who doesn't have any anxiety? Absolutely free from anxiety. Anybody? Anybody can raise their hand. Anybody who doesn't feel any stress, any pressure? Anybody who never experienced any depression? No? So that's all mind. That's all mind. In the beginning of this century, 21st century, I don't know if you were born, whatever. Maybe you were not, but the World Health Organization declared that the biggest disease in this century is going to be the mental disease. And somehow or other, they were right. It's the mental disease. There's so many, even in India, I never heard of psychologists in India before. Nowadays, it's just a booming profession. Yeah, people need, we have to go and visit psychologists, Psychiatry, that's a more acute form of psychology. It's not just counseling, it's just really dealing with crazy, crazy minds. Yeah. But the point is, it's not only that some minds are crazy. We all have crazy minds. We're all crazy because we are expecting so many things that should not be expected. And we are identifying with so many things, or we are identifying ourselves also with something that we are not. That's all craziness. That's all madness. You go to any mental asylum. There are people who are, crazy. Of course, they might not be stupid, but they're crazy. They might not be stupid. People could be geniuses. There was one story. There was one man who was very close to one soul asylum, and there is a metal fence, and his car broke. He had actually punctured, and he stopped down, and then he was pulling all these screws out of the tire, and setting them on the road. And then he kept them, he just removed one tire, and then he kept them all on the road, practically, on the tire. And there was one fellow who who was there in that soul asylum, and then he told him that don't keep your tire on the road. The car will come, it may knock it off, and all your, screws will just fly away. And then this man replied, he said, "What do you know? You're crazy." He knew that that's a soul asylum there, somehow or other, by some signs or whatever. He said, "What do you know? You're crazy." And the man said, "Yeah, I'm crazy, but I'm not stupid." And then sure enough, the car came and knocked out all the wheels and bolts and this and that, whatever. And the man couldn't find them later on. And then he couldn't fix his tire. He had his tire back in the place, exchange tire. And now he was missing some bolts, he couldn't fix. And then the man told him, "You don't have to fix each and every one, fix every second one or something. At least for a while, you could be able to drive." So yeah, there are crazy minds, but it doesn't mean that everybody's stupid. That is there, we acknowledge that. But in most often cases, in really acute cases, the mind overcomes intelligence. Yes or no? No? Mind overrules intelligence. And then there is something that is known as manic depression. Manic depression. That's like so many millions of people suffer from manic depression. They can be very intelligent, extremely intelligent. I personally know a few cases. People are extremely intelligent, but their mind, it's hell. It's absolute hell. It's absolute hell. They suffer so much. They suffer so much. So many agonies they're going through because their mind is uncontrollable. They're geniuses. They're so brilliant, but their minds are crazy. Their minds are crazy. If you don't have that balance in life, hellish life, hellish life. Of course, what causes mind to be crazy? I don't know. We might not have time to discuss so much. But sometimes just by karma, one's position, one's influence of that kind of mind also can be very, very heavy. Very heavy. These people suffer. They can sometimes scream in pain, and they can cause so many. They tend to enter just extreme forms of anger and violence because of crazy mind. Because of crazy mind. So why I mentioned the soul asylum? Because many times in such kind of places, there are people who think that they're someone whom they're not. They can claim, "I'm this one and that one." I don't know, I can give any example. There are so many examples. In the West, it's famous kind of people may think I'm Napoleon Bonaparte or something like this. They're crazy. That's obvious who they're not. But they think I am, and they will act like this. Some people will say I'm Jesus. So many, it's like, like so many people think I'm Krishna, whatever. Okay, very nice. It's like, if it makes you happy, okay, it's like. Crazy minds. But we are not much better either. What do we think we are? I think I'm Mr. Such and such going in such and such college and this and that. Not really. Or I'm working here and there. I have my employee card, see? Or whatever, ID card, this and that. Not really. That's also part of madness and craziness. Of course, not that as acute, but that's also part of the madness. So that's why we have to understand, first of all, how to deal with the mind and how to understand the functions of the mind, how to understand what the mind is, because mind will give us all these different troubles. It has been giving us, it's giving us, and it will. It's always going to be the case unless we do something about it. Unless we start transforming that mind, purifying that mind. So that's always going to be a trouble. So it's not just like we said in the beginning, everybody's facing. I was just in some, AIM, there was one AIM coaching center, then there was one something on, there's so many, anyway, so many coaching centers. We went, I was giving some presentations in the classes like this. These kids are in such a pain, it's just incredible, And then I saw that some parents came, they're having such a huge expectations. And there was one boy, he was studying. I said, "What is this?" He said, "Chemistry." I said, "Wow, Jai, it's like. I was a little bit joking. I said, "Well, you see, I did that 30 years ago, and I'm free now. Just wanted to rub little salt into the wound, just to make him think a little bit, Yeah. I don't have to go through this nonsense again. So why are you going through that nonsense? It's nonsense. It's really, plainly speaking, why do we have to do, why everybody has to be an engineer? I get so many classes, I ask, why are you studying engineering? Nobody, why? Because do you like to study? Hardly anyone wants, raises their hand. Everybody's doing because they just have to do it. I mean, I did it also, but anyway, I didn't think about it at all. It didn't matter much. It doesn't matter now either. What's the use of it? No? At least I wasn't forced to continue doing it. I just did because that time I just didn't know what else to do in life. It's just a different thing. Now that when you're forced, you just have to do it. But why? Why? That causes such an enormous suffering. Okay, so let me ask you one thing. Is fire good or bad? Please raise your hand. Now be careful. Is fire good or bad? Only 2 people are raising hands. 3. Okay, 4. Okay, please tell me, what do you think? Is fire good or bad?
It depends on how you use it.
Oh, I didn't ask you. Huh? Fire is good. Okay, fire is good. Fire of digestion. If you don't have good fire of digestion, it's going to be trouble if you're given some nice, cake from Jaipur or something. Any other opinion? Sumit, what are you thinking?
I was just picturing it.
You're picturing, okay. Digestion or fire? The cake, okay, the cake. I'm not talking about cake nonsense. I'm talking about fire. What do you think? You're thinking about something else. Mind is all over the universe.
Actually, it depends upon users.
Okay, depending on users. Okay, I'll ask another question. Is pain good or bad? Okay, please raise your hand. I don't like relax a little bit. 1 second. Let me see who is participating. Is pain good or bad? Bolo.
It also depends.
Now everything depends. It depends. That's a wrong answer. I will not accept it. Okay, what are the other options? You have two more options, maybe 3 more options left. Depends how you want to twist analyze the whole question altogether. Who wants to raise hand now?
We are conditioned by the society to think that it is bad.
You're too full of forget it. Okay, yes or no? Is it pain?
It's good.
I didn't ask now. Ronak, Bolo now. What yes?
It is good.
Pain is good. Really?
Yes, in the long term.
In the long term, what? Pain is bad. See, now he says pain is bad. Okay, well, anyway, we can keep on wasting time like this, but that's unnecessary pain. Yeah, it depends, but actually pain is good. That's at least my perspective for the time being. That's what I'm looking for. Let's say you touch the fire and you don't feel the pain. You're talking about fire, we're talking about pain. You touch the fire, you don't feel the pain. Is that good or bad now? That's another yes or no, good or bad. What do you think now? You touch the fire, you don't feel, maybe you're from Agni Loka or something, I don't know, but I said, there are people who have, beings that have fiery bodies, that's a different thing. But so then what happens? You touch the fire and it doesn't, you don't feel the burning. So what about that? Where is you have hand, it burned already or something. You don't have a hand. Yes. Could be possible. Could be possible. He will explain to you later. So that's something that's really bad. That's why pain is good. You know why the pain is good? Therefore you can understand when you feel pain, you don't want to experience that pain again. That's why in this world, the pain is required. Otherwise you would forever remain in the material world. No? You would forever remain in the material world. And you will actually suffer even more in a different way. Maybe not in the same way, but in so many other different ways. You will suffer more. So that's why pain is good, that it wakes you up, that I don't want to feel any more pain. You know, there are some rebellious teenagers in the West, they make a tattoos, no more pain, you know. Yeah, because pain is so much, especially this mental pain. No more pain, it's too much. It's too much. So pain is good, but the problem is if you are so dulled, let's say you're intoxicated, you think you will feel the pain? You will not feel the pain. You're intoxicated. You'll just burn. Understand? There are conditions where you just don't feel it. These conditions are terrible conditions. You think our society is not intoxicating society? You think you don't live in an intoxicating society which is forcing you over and over and over and over to go through so many different things, you know, just like these studies? You don't think that that's a part of dullness and intoxication? But then where is the question of being happy? If you're so dulled that you don't feel the pain and desire to react to that pain, there's a problem there. There is a problem. There's a serious problem. Nobody's realizing that. Why? Because we are just so dulled. Yeah? You know, when you get a little cold, what is the symptom? Running nose. Is that good or bad? So many goods and bads today. Okay, this is last one. Is that good or bad? Is that good or bad? We are following the same line of thought. Is that good or bad? Akram? Yes, it's good. Because it will alarm you, hey, you're either standing on a cold floor or it's something, it's cold, better you dress yourself or, you know, whatever, you know, just take some precaution, no? And then stop this, don't make it worse. Don't make it more acute. So when I'm exposed to something in my life that really affects me to such an extent that, you know, it's just really affecting my, especially mental health, then why am I still enduring it? And I should think about it, but I can't think because I'm so dull. I'm so much actually in the mode of ignorance that it consumes me fully, and then ultimately I have no other option but absolute extreme reaction. What is the absolute extreme reaction? What the students do when they're under pressure? Yeah? Yeah. So that's madness. That's madness. You know that India is #1 in the world in terms of teenage suicides? I didn't want to bring that up, but anyway, now you forced me. So is that sane or that's insane? Why? Why? So if I don't want to, I'm not supposed to do something. Of course, sometimes mind has to be, so it's not always that everything is just, pleasurable, It's not always that it happens. Sometimes mind has to be controlled, but it's not that it has to be continuously coerced in a certain direction. That's what's wrong. That's what's also another part of madness. Yeah. So if I feel pain somewhere, and then I should react, and then I should know whether that pain is good or bad. And there's always a limit to that pain. You cannot just live with can you live with pain throughout the life? Is that making any sense? Living with the pain throughout the life, and that's the only feeling that is the most prominent feeling? Is that so exciting? I'm always in pain. No. What to speak of mental pain? Every disease, there are many diseases they're called psychosomatic. Any, gross disease, it's affected by the mental one, pretty much. And therefore, even more so when we relate with each other, what happens? We are the instrument for someone else's pain or pleasure. Mostly it's a pain. Why do we feel anxiety? Why do we feel depression? Why do we feel stress? Why do we feel, I don't know, there's so many different kinds of turns and situations that mind, has to experience. It's because of someone else. It's because of someone else. That's how karma manifests. It manifests through living beings. It doesn't manifest. This table is not going to do anything to me. This mic is not going to do anything to me. It's going to be a living being who's going to come and fix the mic maybe and knock me off or something like that. It's a living being. What to speak if something has been said? What to speak if something has not been done, what was promised? What to speak if, we lose the trust and somebody cheats us, and so many other horrible things happen, in life. How much trouble our mind gives us. How much trouble our mind gives us. Cause of such a pain. Sometimes you can't even sleep. You can't believe that somebody could have said and done something. It keeps on happening, and it will keep on happening. So how do you deal with it? How do you cope with it? Yeah. That's why relationships are so essential, and that's why we were talking now. We were presenting this value education. What is the use of value education when there are no values in life? What is the only value? The value is how to cheat someone and gain something out of everyone. And we don't know how to relate to each other. We just know our mobile. Just today there was some news. There were two people walking in the forest in the west, and there was a bobcat just in front of them, and they were just both on mobiles. They didn't see that bobcat. Bobcat, it's puma kind of. It's like type of puma. Yeah. Luckily the bobcat ran away. Yeah. Catching some other prey in the grass, whatever there. They could have been easily, something could have horribly happened. Whatever, just absorbed in their mobile phones. So that's what is our biggest problem. They're immediately jumping to the point. It's the mobile phones nowadays. That's what ruins our minds. That's how we don't know. We are unconscious how to relate to others. Others are unconscious how to relate to us. And that's what's the greatest problem in relationships. Now, when we talk to students, what's the biggest problem? It's their parents. It's their parents. Why? Because parents don't understand the position of the child. They don't want to understand. They just want to impose so many things. How the kid's going to be happy in life? How is it possible? They just have to do something. They're again in the pain, and they feel the pain, and there's nothing they can do about that pain. It's pretty heavy. Yeah. That's why pain is good, but we have to know how to react. We have to know how to get rid of that pain. Don't continue being in the pain, ignore the pain, dull the senses that mind doesn't feel or senses don't feel it. And when you use your mobile, you are completely dulled. You're completely intoxicated. You're completely addicted. You don't feel what you're supposed to feel. Neither do you feel what others were or are supposed to feel. Neither they feel when they have to deal with you, how they're supposed to feel. But how can that be a sane society? How can you be living then in the sane society? That's why insanity is just overwhelming. Yeah, that's why we wonder, why this girlfriend left me or the boyfriend left me. Anyway, that's normal. That's going on through it. That's one thing. But you know what? Anyway, yesterday on Saturdays we have some classes with these kinds of things. Yeah. But that's not the point. The point is when it's married already. That's the problem. When there is some commitment to supposed to be there. When one makes a commitment, it's not it's just incapable. It just doesn't want to follow the commitment. That's the biggest problem. That's a serious problem. So therefore, mind, as one big poet, big famous known for poet William Blake, he said, mind can make a hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. It's the mind. It's the mind. There was one man in Germany. There was one sannyasi. His father was he had a very big position in the railways. So he said there was one case, one man somehow or other got trapped in a big cool wagon. Cool wagon, it's like a big freezer. Somehow automatic lock, he just got trapped inside and he couldn't come out. He was, it's thick walls, whatever. Nobody heard, nobody knew. He was just trapped there. Next day morning, they found him. He was frozen to death. Cool wagon. No, it's just like a big freezer. He was frozen to death. But it wasn't cold at all. Cool freezer was not on. It was just his mind. He thought it's a cool freezer. I'm freezing. He was frozen till death. Just see the mind. It was not freezing at all. Maybe he felt a little bit when the end, just little difference or something from before, but it wasn't freezing at all. He died. He left the body out of freezing. That's the crazy mind. Yeah. What do we know about mind? We have no idea. Only thing what we scratch on the surface. Mind is said to be like an iceberg. Anybody knows the volume of iceberg? What's the ratio of iceberg when it's in the water? What it's up on the surface? How much is down in the water? Anybody can guess? Yes? What?
The topmost 20%, the remaining water is around 80%.
80, okay, 20/80. Yeah, it's about 1/8. 7 is down, 1 is up. There was some years back, there was some iceberg, many years, 20 years back, some years now, the time is running, it's more than that. It was like big as, almost as Maharashtra. It broke that much. Huge, huge. But it didn't look as such, because on the top, there's only 1/8 of it. So that's the mind. When you're dealing with the people, what you can perceive, of course, even in the course of time, it's only 1/8 of it. That's called conscious mind. And then what it's the rest of it, the enormously greater part of the rest of it, it's the subconscious mind. What is it stored within that subconscious mind? So many things. So many things. All your information of hearing, tasting, smelling, seeing, whatever interaction of the senses is stored within that subconscious mind. And that's always what hunts us. That is always what it's hunting. It's just impulse after impulse after impulse after impulse. Patanjali said, like a pond. Like you have a pond, and nowadays people throw garbage. That's a big fashion in India. That's a new game, you know, just how far you can throw, or maybe, you know, it's like, and how much. How much. And then all this, it's rotting, you know, decomposing, polluting. And then when it comes on surface, bubbles, 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 bubbles. Surface, it's so disturbed. So that's our surface of the mind. If you say, why my mind is disturbed, it's all this rotting nonsense. Lust, anger, greed, madness, envy, illusion. That's it. You are storing all that garbage into your mind. And it's going to be rotting and bubbling and disturbing your surface. Oh. That's what the mind is. And so much rubbish is there in the subconscious level. All that has to be purified. Otherwise, it'll just cause so much disturbance. Say, my mind is disturbed. Why is it disturbed? Because all these impulses, you know how people go for shopping? They react on the impulse. What is the advertisement? You react on the impulse. I just have to address this impulse. It's so important, this agitation. I just have to do it right now. I've seen some, yes, I have to have that. I have to buy this. And they'll make it so attractive. They know the colors, they know the fashion, they know the styles, they know so many things, and they'll make sure you've seen it enough and you're going to buy. Latest movie advertisement. So many trailers, this and that. How many times they'll advertise? In how many different ways? And you just start thinking, yeah, I have to see this. I have to see this movie. I have to do this. I have to buy that. I have acting on impulses. What is our biggest problem in chanting? Immediate reaction to the impulse. Mind throws some garbage. Oh yeah, what is this? Okay, let me think about it. And then immediate inattention. We don't hear Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Mind immediately drops something. Oh, what is it? Oh, let me, and then you start contemplating on this and this, you connect to something else, you connect that something else to something else, and mind drifts you to completely another universe. Where is your mantra? That's how mind works. Crazy minds. We are all dealing with crazy minds. You know? So how to have that peace? Bhagavad Gita talks about the peace. Bhaktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sukhriram sarvabhutam yatramam shantim richati. Shantim. Everybody's screaming for peace nowadays. So many wars, so many disturbances, so many riots, so many troubles given by this government and that government. The whole world is in mess. There's no peace anywhere. But how do you get peace? Well, Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita. In second chapter also, there are a few interesting verses at the end. He talks about attachment and aversion. Attachment and aversion, being attached to something will cause disturbance. Aversion will cause disturbance. One has to learn how to be equanimical and steady in his devotional practice. These are also some verses to be discussed. But anyway, mind. Minding the mind. No? It's a cause of so much trouble. Mind is really a cause of so much trouble. That's why we have to be very, very acquainted with what the mind is and how to deal with it, you know? How to purify it. That's why we chant again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Keep on trying. Keep on trying. Don't allow the mind to trick you. Yeah? Keep on trying. Keep on avoiding, as I said, everything that dulls it. Avoid information that it's not necessary. As soon as you start contemplating, it will just cover you up. It will make you dull. You won't feel what you're supposed to feel. Yeah. That's why mind is said to be just like a wild animal. Can you trust a wild animal? No. Sometimes the wild animal can be cornered, and then it's suddenly very peaceful. Do you trust that animal? No, you should never. Should never. Because next moment it's gone. You'll run away or it will attack you. Srimad Bhagavatam gives this example. You can never trust wild animal. Who is wild animal? Our own mind is wild animal. Yeah? Our own mind. Sometimes therefore Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said the mind has to be beaten into submission. In the morning 100 times with broom, in the evening 100 times with the shoe. Of course, that's an example. What is that? That's devotional practice, morning and evening sadhana. Then mind will cooperate. Then sometimes what you do to the mind, you starve your mind a little bit. Starve it. Don't give him, don't feed him all this garbage. Starve the mind a little bit. Go for 1-2 weeks out of Mumbai, Have a little excursion to some holy places. Go visit some schools. Have some practical experience. Starve the mind from all this nonsense that you're every day exposed to. Starve the mind. Just like they give this example, you starve the tiger. The people who train them, they starve them. And then they become obedient. Because they, first of all, they lose their strength. And second, they become afraid of a chair or a whip or whatever. And then if they want to eat, they'll have to obey. Starve the mind a little bit, starve the senses. How? By engaging them in devotional service. Take them away from that dullness that they're exposed to. So that's why mind, it's a source of so much trouble. It's so much difficulty. If it's not purified. Otherwise, mind is the most wonderful thing. We all want to feel, no? We all want to, have a good relationships. We all want to experience some happiness, something good. That's what the mind is meant for. Mind is just an element. It's not a being. But we have to program that mind. We have to put something good in it, something beneficial, something useful. Okay, we'll stop for a moment. Any questions so far? Huh? Anybody is having any question? Yes.
How subjects like physics and chemistry, studying subjects like physics makes us dull?
Okay. How can subjects of studying physics and chemistry make us dull? Anyone wants to answer? Anybody has experience? Huh? Huh? What? Okay. So he was in 10th standard, there was subject of chemistry. Then it was very difficult. It's not that everybody is born for chemistry and mathematics, no? You understand? That's the major answer. It's not that everybody is excited about it. No? It's very simple. So if you're forced constantly to just do something that you're not excited, what will happen? No? Let's say if I submit, if I exposed you to continuous classes of, singing, or let's say maybe some history and geography, how would you react? Would you be excited? Some arts? No, what do you study? What do you like to study?
I like to study physics.
Okay, what you don't like to study?
Don't like to study
What?
history, geography.
But that's what I'm saying. So if I expose you to history and geography, would you be so excited? All the time just studying that only. And that's your goal of life. There's nothing else but that. Would that be senseful? That's the point. So it's not everybody, it's for everything. That's the first thing we have to understand. Yeah. That's why parents also, if they keep on forcing, of course, we're not going to talk about that publicly so much in such circumstances when we present Bhagavad Gita. But it's not natural. It's not natural. Somebody who doesn't like doing something, then why they have to be forced to do it? No. They're just not meant for that. Spiritual life is something different. Spiritual, see, there is a difference between trying to practice spiritual life. Sometimes we might not like it. It's bitter. It's always the example of, jaundice. But it's ultimately so sweet when we become purified. That's a different thing because it's on a different level. But materially, if you're conditioned in one way and you're forcing something else, that's a recipe for disaster. There's a big difference. It's an enormous difference because eternally we have certain nature. When we are bringing out that nature, we become more and more happier. But when we are conditioned and you try to impose another conditioned nature upon that conditioned nature, that's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. So that's what it's not going to work. And that's why people, again, this is what I said, we don't know how to relate to each other. And their mind becomes crazy and mad. Manodharma. There was one boy, he sent the recordings of his girlfriend. He just broke up with his girlfriend. He said it's not going to work. And then she was calling like for hours and for days. Every few minutes she was calling. She said, "You're nonsense, you're this and that, you're anyway not worthy of me, and it's better, it's good that we broke." Then she called another time. "Oh, you don't know what you're doing, you're such a nice boy, so don't worry, I'll take care of you, it's just like." And then again another time, "Yo, you're such an idiot, better, this and that." That's example of crazy mind. No, is it going like this? Who has that experience? Yeah, who has that experience when you broke up or something? You go from one extreme to another. It's just madness, madness, madness. Madness, madness, madness. Yeah. That's a crazy mind. That's a crazy mind. That's why mind, there's another way. I'll tell you what, there's another way how to control the mind. There are a few other ways. Of course, the best is Ma Mantra, keep that in mind. But there's another way. It's like one interesting thing, it's Lord Ganesh. No? Ganeshji, our Ganapati Bappa and Dadar here. Yeah, Vinayak. Anyway, he's not Ashtavinayak, but he's just Vinayak. Okay, anyway. So he represents Guru. Why? Because Guru is heavy. He represents Guru. And that small chua, he represents the mind. Don't laugh. He represents the mind. Why mind? Because mind sometimes, what his mouth does, he steals sometimes sweets that are offered to God. And then he runs here and there and this and that. So now how do you control the mind? How do you control the illusion? How do you control these material desires that you want to enjoy separately? You're stealing for Krishna or something, whatever, we want to exploit material energy. How do you control? So that's why the Guru has to step on the mind. So that's why elephant has to step on the mouse. There's no other way to control it. So therefore that weight is the weight of control. So much weight, can you imagine how much weight is therefore required to control the mind? No? That's the point. But anyway, I said something practical. That is also practical, of course, looking for a spiritual master and submitting one's mind to him. But another practical thing is Monday. Monday is the day that rules the mind. Of course, each and everyone's astrological position is different, But in general, Monday is a good day. If you have troubles with your mind, like we said, starve him a little bit, do some fasting. According to Jyotish, the two most powerful remedial measures are fasting and mantra, sound vibration. So Monday, because mind is represented by Chandra, and Chandra is ultimately represented by Krishna. So of course, we don't have to deal with Chandra, we can directly approach Krishna. But do a little fasting on Monday, control the mind like this. And Hare Krishna, yeah, that's what we'll have now. Okay, any other question? Anybody else wants to ask something? Yes. Prakriti, what? Okay. Did you understand it? Okay, one more chance. Okay, so give the example. There are three people in the room, okay. We're in the mode of passion, all of them. One is, so three are in the mode of passion and one is in. But get things clear. If you're gonna ask the question, get things clear. Okay, so now what? Okay, one is in the mode of passion now. There were three before, so then now. Okay, you know what? After class, we'll discuss this. Yes.
Like we have to surrender to Guru. That's one option.
Yes, one option is to surrender to Guru, and then another option.
By chanting or by intelligence to control the mind.
By chanting or by intelligence, yes. So.
Yeah, but the impulses, even though we have the intelligence, even though we have.
Yeah, so we have to practice and never add more impulses to what you're already dealing with. That's the whole point. You stop that agitation. Realize where the impulse is coming from. They're coming from everywhere, from every sense. It's just flooding the mind with information. So what information is not required, just stop that. You know, like that example of an arrow maker. And Shastra has given the example of the arrow maker. To make an arrow perfect, you know, it takes a lot of skill. So that arrow maker was so focused that somebody asked him, "Oh, didn't you see the royal procession passing next to your house?" He said, "Which royal procession?" He was so fixed on making the arrow. Who can be focused like that nowadays? No. So we don't allow any agitation, no matter where it comes from, in whichever way it comes from. You're just being focused on, we have and want to be focused on. That's important. Otherwise, all these, like I said, advertisements, mobile. I mean, it's such a sickening disease, you know. It's just every moment. I was seeing one girl when I was coming in the train, you know. You know, how the mind wouldn't be crazy? Why are you laughing? You're all doing this. Yeah. How the mind won't be crazy? And then what you're going to be focused on? It's impossible. It's impossible. So strengthening intelligence, purifying that mind, that's what this spiritual process is all about. It's all in Bhagavad Gita. It's all in Bhagavad Gita. And as I said, there is more in Srimad Bhagavatam and there is more in other Shastra, whatever, but these are most essential, so sufficient. Why don't you read Bhagavatam? Who has read Bhagavatam? You're reading so many things, wasting so much time. Why not starting Gita and Bhagavatam? So much nectar. We are depriving ourselves from so much nectar, chasing after so much nonsense. And I've seen this video. They're so stupid. People are posing something. open my, you know, it's like some stupid things, really. And then the girls are like this. And so ridiculous. Why wasting time with this nonsense? Of course, the girl can. And some other things we do there. Crazy minds, crazy minds. So that's why just restrict your, usage of what you have to use. That's called intelligence. Because otherwise, it's not that you're just going to be crazy, but you're going to be stupid as well. Both. Really, because then you'll make stupid choices in your life and you'll suffer for it. Not a good idea. It's a fact. That's why we need absolute guidance. We need heavy guru, we need heavy information, to direct us properly. No more pain, no more anxiety, no more depression. That's only one way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, what's the next part of the program? Huh? Drama? On the mind? I should have done something. Anyway, okay, next time. Okay, we'll have Kirtan. Hare Krishna.